The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. And Kinetic Skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. In this penultimate episode of 2020, I think I used that correctly, of The Rights to Ricky Sanchez, we will talk about tonight's miserable loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The win over New York, which was better. Any updates on James Harden, which are few. I will run by Mike the categories for the best of the year of 2020 from Rights to Ricky Sanchez, which you can vote on at rightstoRickySanchez.com. And we will bring back Brian Colangelo relationship advice for a quick one. I feel like we need it. Two things before we get going. First of all, good news. Our YouTube channel, down to only 57% of our viewers are not subscribed. The bad news, 57% is still a high number. Smash that subscribe button. Give us a like. Leave us a comment below. Smash that subscribe button. Would like to get that to 50% by 2021. And more serious, a gentleman who was never part of the Ricky, but was a big part of Liberty Ballers for a while, and he was actually the impetus behind the lottery party. Sean O'Connor, it was actually his idea. His mom passed away this week from, I think it was lung cancer. It was cancer. She was very young, in her early 50s, and we love Sean. Sean has been a big part of this online weirdness that we've had for the last bunch of years. And he's a very sweet guy, and just wanted to send our love to him and his family. It's a terrible loss, and not a good time to have. Never a good time to have it, but now an even worse time. So just wanted to send our thoughts along to Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Sean.
Sean, great dude. So love you, Sean, and our best to your family. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy whose only New Year's resolution is to get Tobias Harris to give Shake Milton $10 million, Mike Levin.
Oh, man. This is the first Sixers loss since the bubble, and it's hard to believe because it feels like there's been so many. My demeanor isn't of that a team that's been, until tonight, undefeated since the bubble. So,
yeah. Undefeated since the bubble is a funny way to put it. I mean,
I don't think that anyone was championing that, but they won their first two games and they won their two preseason games. So I guess this is what it was. But
yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
The game with the Knicks looked a little bit better. The starters had a little more fluidity, passing the ball and stuff. But
especially the second half, I thought, against the Knicks.
Yeah, for sure. Some definitely good things to take out of that game. They go on the road, and that was a road game as well. But then they go on the road against the Cavs and lose by 1,000. No Embiid. I mean, just bad. And they look. We talked about this last podcast, and Mike O'Connor made this point as well on Twitter. Like, they look the same. They look like they're the same team. They changed up some things. There's some new players in there. There's a whole new coaching staff, but it's still Simmons and Embiid and a bunch of guys who are skilled in some ways, but like lack a lot, and so they look the same. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's not. Losses like this are not the end of the world. They happen to everybody. It's that, definitely not the. I don't want. So sometimes I think people tie together when we talk about something bad along with the loss to say that the loss is indicative of more than it is just a loss on the road. It's kind of a bummer that I guess it happens, but Doc Rivers said after the game that they didn't know Embiid wasn't playing until just before the game when his back like tightened up. This has been a thing with Embiid for a while now, the deciding whether he can play or not right before the game. And I don't like that it's his back, which he's had issues with, a bunch of times before. But I mean, whatever.
They said concerning, not to be concerned going forward, but it is a 2 road game back to back is, I think, tough. And I think that should just be a game that, if it's 2 home games back to back, I think fine, let him play if he feels right. But I think 2 road game back to back with a flight in between, I just don't think that that's a feasible way to like manage minutes. So I don't think it should have been. I don't know how that would have affected his back either way if he was or wasn't playing, but like it just doesn't seem necessary with the condensed season to play him back to backs on the road.
I don't know what to. I mean, they were sloppy as shit. They looked like a team that was just fucking didn't know what they were doing out there. I will say though, like I know. I'm trying so hard to not do this because I know I can feel like a broken record sometimes with this, but it's 2 podcasts about the same team every week. So, you get what you pay for. Ben Simmons is no better at anything on offense today than he was 3 years ago. Like every top level player on offense, especially in the beginning of their career, goes and adds something. And he has added nothing. And I think offensively, I might be able to argue that he's maybe not quite as good as he was 3 years ago, because I think he's maybe thinking about things more. But I just can't believe that the whole plan is to drive into the lane, jump, and either hope something happens or throw it back out to the top of the key where either Embiid is, or in this case, there's nobody there willing to do anything. I'm just sort of like lost as to how he is not better at anything really offensively after being up here for 4 years and playing the league for 3. It's just sort of like frustrating to watch it tonight when the team could use like some offense from somebody, and he doesn't really have anything. He doesn't have any moves. He doesn't like, and it's frustrating, and it is part of why I don't like his game, like especially in this, because he doesn't give you anything in a game like this. If he can't run up and down the court, there's just nothing there. And Tobias Harris is making $36 million. We'll get to him, all this, but I just wish the second best player just had something in games like this, and it just doesn't seem like he does. Yeah,
I mean, it's very clear that like Embiid is the best player. I think Simmons is an excellent defensive player, but the difference between like Simmons anchoring your defense and Embiid anchoring your defense is a lot. Like you can put Embiid and 4 guys on the court, and it's going to be at least a league average defense pretty much.
And that's not to hate on Simmons. It's just sort of a factor of the positions they play and what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can be, individual offense is more important than individual defense. Unless I would say it's the center. I think it's more close there. Mm-hmm. And Embiid really does anchor the defense in ways that, we can't even really comprehend. Like he's just, there's a stability there. It's not only just like blocking shots and rotating and calling things out. There's just like, people don't go to the rim when he's there very much. And then you see him out and it's just a free pass. It's just all the time. People just coming in and doing whatever he wants.
I think I saw the stat for the first 2, like before this game, Sixers opponents shot worse at the rim than any team in the NBA. I think it was like 47% at the rim. So
yeah, I mean, and
that's Joel.
Simmons is great. Like, he's an excellent defensive player, and he gets his hands on things, and he had some really nice plays in the Knicks game. He held RJ Barrett, who I don't think is very good yet, although he's starting to show stuff. But he had a great preseason, and I think 1 or 2 really good games, and then he was 1 of 11 with Simmons on him in the first half. He's great. Like, he's a great defensive player, but it's just not the same. Like, it's just not the same the way that defenses are like coordinated to funnel things into the lane, and Embiid just like prevents that from happening. And so that's important. So Embiid being a better defensive and offensive player than Simmons is like, it's very clearly that he's our best player. And so, yeah, when Simmons is out there without him, it's like, yeah, they can play fast and fun sometimes with the right combination around him. And he sometimes feels more empowered to just be out there running around. And if guys are filling the lane and he has athletic guys that are capable of running and hitting shots with him, he looks good. Obviously, people pretty easily remember those last 16 games in the 2017-18 season, right? 17-18.
Yep.
And so that, like, it's capable of looking obviously better than it did tonight. It's one game, like, shit happens. But like, yeah, I think it's easy to, you're not wrong to say, like, what has he really improved at? I would say, like, maybe his foul shooting has gotten better each year, but that's, relatively marginal. To me, it's like, there were a couple times tonight where you saw him, like, going at the rim and dunking and taking it all the way. But so many times it looks like he's sort of like fading and loosely, like, trying to shoot an egg into a vase. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, he has, like, he can finish with either hand, obviously. And he's sometimes very physical, and willing to dunk, near people. I wouldn't say very much over people, but certainly he's fast enough and big enough to do that. But too often he's not doing that consistently. He's deciding to fade away, do little hooks, or like not take the contact. It's just not how he is. And I don't think it's like this. I don't think it's he's scared of going to the line. Like, I think that's bullshit. I think it's just like some guys do that and some guys don't. And like, Tobias Harris doesn't do that. Like, he's not going to get to the line as much as Jimmy Butler, even if he watches like a ton of Jimmy Butler tape and goes like, okay, I could do that. But he's just not going to do it. It's not his body. It's not the way his brain works in that moment. I don't know how to improve upon that, aside from like an occasional marginal thing. And I think Ben is the same way. I think he's just like not, he might go to the basket more. He might just say like, okay, I'm going to catch this on the fly and go at the rim. But it's never going to be like, I'm going to go get fouled. Like, I'm going to go get fouled and use my body to make sure they foul me so I can get to the line. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen that much. And when it does, it's still not like, he just doesn't have the right amount of like touch and balance and angles and like the ball in his hand. It's just, he has not improved at those kinds of things. And last year, obviously, it was different because it was personnel based. Like, he didn't have many people to kick it out to. And I think he will have more of that this year. And I think that the way, even though Doc has changed some things, like, it's still the same team. He's, they're running more pick and roll. Simmons is more involved in the pick and roll. I would say his ball handling in the half court has gotten a little bit better. And I think he will get those kinds of open lanes to the rim because, like, people will be worried about like a rolling Dwight or Embiid in a way that they kind of never were with Brett, and that's also personnel. But yeah, I mean, it's just like they look like the same team. Guys aren't good enough. Guys aren't capable of doing enough things on the court, and too often, like, effort is lackadaisical and stuff. And so I think if you're Daryl Morey, you're looking at this, and if you're Doc Rivers, you're looking at this going like, hey, this team that we inherited, it still kind of looks the same way. And maybe shortened preseason, pandemic, all the caveats, it's still like this team is not close to a finished product. There are going to be 1 or 2 at least trades during the season if they think that they have a shot at winning the East. Like, they're going to have to make moves to get there.
Yep. Yeah, and they got like, you also see the difference. Seeing the difference between starter Dwight Howard's been great. Dwight Howard was great in the Knicks game. Mm-hmm. He was great in the Wizards game. But when he has to stay under 6 fouls, And by the way, as strong as he is, and as fit, it really does. Watching what Andre Drummond did to him tonight really puts into perspective how big and strong and good Embiid is.
Yeah.
Because Embiid fucking destroys Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond can't do shit against Joel Embiid. And he pushed Dwight Howard around tonight like he was a small forward. Like it didn't even look, Sexton went off, Garland went off. It was just a shitty game. I will say, maybe here's a positive. Positive with a caveat. Tobias Harris in the last 2 games definitely looked like he made some quicker decisions, especially to shoot threes.
Well, great guy, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely incredible guy. Somebody, I'll give him credit next time. I forget his name. We got an Instagram DM. He said that Tobias Harris's nickname should be GGB for great guy butt.
Mm-hmm. I just think like I immediately felt bad, by the way, after the podcast ended. I was like being 2 hours, just like, why did I say that? That's mean. Well, it's because he's just like, it's tough watching him. He has looked better the past 2 games. This is way more like normal frustrating Tobias rather than like what's happening in there frustrating Tobias. I think he's like looking up more. Like he's definitely shot more quickly tonight. But still like, misses passes. There was a time where he attacked a closeout and there was just like a very easy pass to Shake in the corner. Shake is like just flailing his arms, begging for the ball, and Tobias just missed him and like pulled it out. And it's just like too often he's just not seeing the court because that's not who he is. And like I think with these Sixers, especially with guys who've been in the league for like a number of years, it's just we have to start assuming that guys won't get better. Like Shake's gonna get better, I think. Maxi's gonna get better, I think.
Yep.
Maybe Matisse is going to improve in some way and look less lost than he does now. But most of these guys, like, that's who they are. That's who they are. They're not making like year 8 giant leaps. And that was kind of talking about everybody. So, I mean, I think we know that Daryl wants to and is not shy about making changes in season. And I think that that's just what it's going to take, unless he thinks like they're not even close. And if he thinks that, I think he's probably wrong, because Embiid is I think the best defensive 5 in the league, and with shooting around him, capable of being a very efficient offensive player when you can't double. But they still need more, and they don't have it right now.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, you saw the big man thing is interesting because you saw, that team wasn't very good. The Anthony Davis Pelicans, this team's obvious. Well, are they obviously more talented than the last team that he played with there? Maybe. I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
The Anthony Davis Pelicans, like the last team he was on with the Pelicans. I mean, that was what? Holiday, Rondo. I'm trying to think who else was on that team.
Are these Sixers currently without Embiid better than those Pelicans?
No, the team around him. I guess the team around Embiid now, is that better than the team that was around Anthony Davis then?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I just think a big man, there's probably a limit. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the last.
Embiid's also a better, at that point, as a 5, Embiid's a better defensive player than Anthony Davis was at that point.
100%
playing for the Pelicans, yeah.
100%. The one thing that I've seen so far in Embiid's game that it looks different to me than it has in previous years in a really positive way. First of all, he does look. His body looks the same to me, but we mentioned this after, I think, the first preseason game. He seems like he's moving around better and more light of foot than he has been in previous years.
Yeah.
And he played the entire fourth quarter the other night and was great the entire time. But as far as his game, there's definitely more, and this is I think a function of the space around him, more face up and more of those 15-footers. And I've always drawn Patrick Ewing comparisons to him, mostly because his touch is so soft. His touch reminds me of Ewing, but that was very much a Ewing game. Ewing had a really great fadeaway jumper too, but it's been a part of Embiid's game that really hasn't been used enough, is that mid-range game. And I actually think...
Really?
What's that?
I think that was most of his game over the course of his career was him turning and facing.
No, most of his game was, I would say most of his game was back down.
I think it's certainly both. I think the difference between this year and last year, it's only been 2 games for Joe. And he's hit a decent number of shots. He's starting to feel very comfortable hitting those shots, but
he's getting hassled less so he can shoot them more.
Well, I think they're starting him more around the nail, around the foul line.
Sure.
So that, I think there's some school of thought of like, all right, well, let's put him on one side and then just everybody else on the other, so that nobody's going to come around. But I think that's in that area of the court, they can double that, but also kind of still, especially since Embiid's not an excellent passer, they can still like cover those other 4 guys with 3 players. And so when it's at the nail or at the elbow, it's harder to do that. It's harder to just like generally wall off like the pass to those 3 guys. And so I think it's harder to double because you can see it all happening. He still like holds the ball too long. I think I'm always going to be frustrated by that. But I think facing up, having those like little pick and pops, whether it's to the 3-point line or to the elbow, and starting in that like kind of pistol formation where he's setting screens and stuff, and then popping out. I think that gives him a little bit more space and less concern about turnovers. But yes, I mean everybody. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's hard to do this whole like. I mean they looked bad tonight. I didn't think they looked great against New York, and they definitely looked great against Washington. But like they've barely played together, so maybe it comes along. But like I don't know, they just seem like the same team. Like Doc is doing like he's running Brett's plays a lot of them. I think there's some changes, but just not that much. And so I don't know. Every podcast is probably shouldn't devolve into should they do the Harden trade, but like it's probably going to. Like it's just, it's like this thing looming over our head. He had 44 and 17 last night. Playing with a team that he's barely played with. I mean, they lost, so that's a factor.
Yeah, but they lost by 2 on the road in overtime to Portland without Wall, Cousins, Gordon. They had 9 players.
Yeah, for sure. But he's very good, and he's even guys that he hates apparently, or he freaking pegged the ball at Jayshawn Tate, who's a scrappy undrafted rookie, who's playing pretty well, and he's still like throwing lobs to Christian Wood and just being unguardable generally, and it's unbelievable.
Mike, if you were a dog, what would your New Year's resolution be as a dog? Just curious, I guess.
I think that's the benefit of being a dog is you don't need one.
Yeah, that's a good
You're
point.
always doing your best.
Really an excellent point. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to us by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. So there were some Christmas Big Barkers, and this one like really hit me in the heart, especially with the picture. This came from Craig. I've been wanting to support your sponsors for a while, and I finally had the right opportunity. My parents' dog, Jack, has hip issues, shocking, I know, and is getting old, so I got them a Big Barker for Christmas. Jack loves it, literally climbed on it and fell asleep in 2 minutes. I kept the patches for myself since my parents don't know anything about the podcast, but they sure do love the new dog bed. Anything that makes their dog happy makes them happy. Thanks, guys. Jack looked adorable on his bed. Big Barker is for dogs like Jack, who has hip issues, who are getting older. Dogs like Twinkie, also a new process pup. Mocha, very small dog names. And then Guinness, that's a boxer, 10-year-old boxer pit bull. The thing with Big Barkers is that these beds are created for your dogs to not only sleep comfortably, but sleep more healthy and have a more productive, healthier life into their older years. And it is that way because it's made to a different standard than dog beds that you see, whether it's advertised to you on Facebook or Instagram, or you see it at the pet store. None of them compare to Big Barker. Big Barker, designed by experts to keep your dog healthy. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, bigbarker.com/Ricky. You get the Big Barker with 2 process pup patches. You can either keep them like Craig, or you can put them right there on the bed. And then you send us a picture to writesrickysanchez@gmail.com, and we put them in the process pup gallery. Tons, like in the few years that Big Barker has been with us, if you go to the process pup gallery, just tons and tons and tons of dogs that are sleeping happier and sleeping healthier because of what they did. They actually just did a really great thing with the Brandywine Valley SPCA. they do this thing where they send all the dogs to fosters for the holidays. So they don't have to spend the holidays at the shelter, and they sent them home with Big Barkers this year. I think 12 of the dogs. So very, very nice. Love Big Barker. Again, go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. There's a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, if your dog doesn't like it, they give you a full refund and they pay for the shipping. Made right here in the USA too. Big Barker dog beds. Back to the Ricky. It's funny. A couple of people have mentioned this. I don't know if you've heard this. A couple of people have said to me, "Well, what do you think the fit with Embiid would be like?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking bonkers?" The Christian Wood had 33 and 11 last night with Harden. I think Embiid's fit with the Harden would probably be fine.
I'll also say, like, that did not look like last year's Rockets team as far as everybody stand around stuff. There was way more pick and roll action, kind of utilizing Christian Wood's sort of special package of offensive skills. And I thought they were just generally moving the ball more than they had last year. They have a new coach. So there was concern about, like, can Harden even play without just like standing there and dribbling for 14 seconds before making a decision? And I think the answer is probably yes, especially in a place where he would like rather be. But Embiid, is not an excellent screen setter. So I don't know how that would look as much, but I think it's probably going to be fine. They're both very good.
Yeah. Well, and you can do 5 out with Embiid too. I mean, like, because he can shoot too. Mm-hmm. So if they want to just have Harden isolate some and have Embiid around there too. Look, you've used the phrase basketball genius before. Like, James Harden is that.
For sure.
And for all of the and rightly so, for all of the, I guess partially rightly so, for all the questions about his conditioning, here is a guy who does come back every year with some new trick that nobody knows how to guard somehow. And I know it's annoying, but he does. And a guy who is so disciplined on the court that he went like 3 years without shooting anything that wasn't a free throw in the lane or a 3-pointer, and plays a lot of minutes and plays every game. So for the criticisms of his work ethic or defense or all of those things, he sure does seem to work on his game a lot. And he's a very, very, very smart and an incredible, I would say an underrated passer. Like, he's so good at it. He doesn't get credit for it. Totally. Here's my read on the situation. I think we're out. And the first Morey confirmation publicly, like to Shams, that they weren't going to trade Ben Simmons was, I think, theater for me. But he is playing it up quite a bit. And
in what way?
Like, he's the tweeting about Ben, and like the betting my dad on Twitter that he's going to be MVP, and like,
did he bet your dad that he's going to be MVP?
They were going back and forth. My dad wanted to bet him $5,000, but he said he wasn't allowed to do it. But that said, by the way, anytime anybody questions my sanity, realize that I'm the only person in the world that has to fucking deal with that as their father arguing with fucking Daryl Morey on Twitter. It feels like a lot, it feels like when he's liking tweets about that from Alan Hahn that they shouldn't trade him. And when he's responding that Ben in winning time was 3 of 3 for 6 points and 6 boards, and yet it feels like a lot right now. And I think he thinks they're out of it. But I want to be clear about one thing. They could be out of it, and he could be totally willing to give up Simmons and maybe just not willing to give up more. I think he would, if it was just straight up, I think he would make the trade. It's feeling to me like they're out of it. That's my gut, just watching it.
Yeah, I don't know how negotiations work. It's hard to really get a full read. I think, like, it's so pleasant to live in a possibility world where it's Tobias and everything else. But like, I just don't think
Philly
it's possible.
trade.
I just don't think that anyone
all the stuff we don't want
would do that. Yeah, here, have stuff. But like, also with shake, I mean, like, that's gonna hurt.
Well,
but
by the way,
they're still not doing that.
There is a possibility, and I was talking to Mike O'Connor about this. There is a possibility that let's say the Harden trade happens, but over the next 2 months, Milton and Maxey play themselves into being more valuable, and a Brad Beal. By the way, there's no way Bradley Beal is lasting more than one season with Russell Westbrook. There's just no way. He's going to beg to get out of there. Like, there is a possibility those guys could play themselves into more value and become more valuable. And that doesn't mean that they can get traded with Tobias Harris to do it, but maybe the Simmons, maybe right now us adding Shake doesn't seem like that big a thing to Houston, but maybe it seems like something to Washington in 2 months. I don't know. And it's also possible he just wants to get off of Harris and gets off of Harris. And that happens this year too. And they don't make the move forward to win a championship this year, but they rid themselves of that contract.
My gut about a Tobias trade is that it's not going to happen during the season. I think it's anybody looks at that and says like this year and also 3 more years. It's like, oh my God, can you even, how can we believe that? But this offseason, once things start to fall away, I feel like, oh, it's only 3 years. Like that's really nothing. That's like, 1 year is not enough. And 2 years is kind of like just right. So like 3 years is basically 2 years plus 1. Like I feel like other teams will be able to convince themselves. But in this season, it's still like too many and another. But I feel like this offseason it'll be more palatable for somebody to eat that up.
Yeah, I saw people mentioning trading him for DeMar DeRozan. Like, why would San Antonio do that? DeMar DeRozan's on the last year of his deal, and I would actually say better than Tobias Harris. So I can't figure out why the Spurs would do it. Mike O'Connor keeps mentioning Kevin Love, who has one less year on his deal and probably fits better. But you don't get that straight up either. The question is, what is it worth to you to rid yourself of 1 year of the Harris contract? I don't know. Mike, let me ask you this. What do you, if you were, let's say you were running the premier boutique personal injury law firm in the Delaware Valley, what would your New Year's resolution be?
I feel like the benefit of running the premier boutique injury law firm, etc., of the Delaware Valley is that you don't need any.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Mike. Excellent point. We want to thank Kornblau and Kornblau for their sponsorship in 2020. It's been obviously a shitty year for a lot of reasons, but we were happy that Kornblau and Kornblau stuck with us. Also, happy how Adam helped people through negotiating through all this, from he had like unemployment insurance and like all sorts of different shit. Like business owners that were having trouble, people that were having trouble collecting unemployment, he helped them too. It is a personal injury law firm. Like I said, the premier one in the Delaware Valley, the premier boutique personal injury law firm. But he helps our listeners out with everything all the time. Just an amazing dude. It's Kornblau and Kornblau. That's him and his mom. There are other Kornblaus there. I don't know how many. They multiply. They're like gremlins. You can't get them wet after midnight or eat after midnight, and you can't let them get wet. But they've been doing it for 40 years. And personal injury, their specialty, medical malpractice is what they do best. But any sort of injury. You're injured. It could be somebody else's fault. Don't be a hero. Don't tough it out. Go see a doctor and then call Kornblau. He'll take care of you. I've been through a personal injury lawsuit. They suck. They take forever. Kornblau makes it less sucky. Make sure you know what's going on at all times. Gives you the right advice. If you think you might have a case, give him a call or shoot him an email. 215-576-7200. I want everyone to ask him for his New Year's resolution. The email is kornblau@kornblau.com. Kornblau spelled Korn. This is just once in 2020. KORNBLAU. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Back to the pod.
No resolution.
None. No resolution.
I don't know. What a bad idea. What a bad idea that was to do.
Yeah.
It's all connected. Like that's, you start from such a place of like, all right, they traded. I mean, we're not going to, say it's not going to go back all the way to Fultz, but like the Mikal Bridges Zaire trade where it's like Zaire and a pick for Mikal coming out of college. Like, that's like a fine trade. Now it looks worse because Zaire's barely on a team and Mikal is excellent. But like at the time, like there were like, that's a fine value trade. You got a full first round pick. Wasn't it a Miami pick, right?
Yeah.
That was the Miami pick in a
21 Miami pick.
in the like maybe that's the double draft year. Like that was exciting, but then you turn that around and be like just an additional sweetener to trade for Tobias Harris so that you can then max him out. Then it looks like it's like all connected to look like shit. Like if you zoom into like one thing and you're like this looks good, and then you zoom out and you're like wait, that's all big picture of shit. Like it's really bad, and it's just like frustrating mismanagement. And it's exciting, and I know that we're like in a place where the Sixers don't look very good, and we're waiting to see like what it's ultimately going to look like this season. But the fact that we have a far more competent GM who, has absolutely made many mistakes in his career, but like it at least has a bigger picture sense of like what it's going to take. In that, I didn't believe anybody else that the Sixers have ever. Hinkie never got a shot, but like nobody that the Sixers have ever had running the team, I feel, is as thinking big picture, like what's it going to take to get to a championship as Daryl Morey. And I mean like ever. I mean like in the history of the team. And so that's exciting, but it is hard to stomach like how much better it could be now if so many things hadn't gone wrong leading up to it. But maybe we wouldn't have Daryl, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, having 2 extra first-round picks and Landry Shamet and not Harris on the books probably makes the Harden trade a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
It probably get a little less complicated. Before we get to best of the year, relationship advice, yada, 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 anything else from those 2 games, I wanted to mention, Thibault got a little run and didn't seem to fuck anything up, which was good. He looked like he played a little more under control in the Knicks game. I can't think of too much else.
Yeah, I mean, like he looked. I don't mind Matisse coming in sometimes when Ben sits, only when Ben sits, as the like we're gonna put you on a guy, because nobody else. I think Shake and Tyrese and Danny are all like capable in varying ways. Obviously Embiid, but Matisse is still, I really haven't seen it from him this year, but like has shown to be capable of like shutting down a guy or at least like blowing things up in a way that will really make people uncomfortable. And so I don't mind using him as almost like kind of a gadget player while he figures out what the fuck he's doing on the offense, because it still looks so lost, either lost or just like a total non-entity, like playing 4-on-5 over there. Which is frustrating.
He was a senior college player averaging 8 points a game. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, but he didn't look like lost there.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a ton that he could do, but it was at least like he could at least do Danny Green stuff. And it seems like right now there's just everything's moving so fast for him, and it feels like he's like slippery, just like kind of slipping around, and the ball doesn't like feel right in his hands and stuff. I don't know. Korkmaz left with what seemed like a groin injury. Did that look like a groin to you?
I couldn't tell whether he was grabbing his groin or holding his hand.
Right.
But something, yeah, and he left.
Yeah, so that's concerning. Couple
Especially
good things from
if it's a groin. Those things take forever. Yeah.
A couple good things from Maxey. I think like he's just a good passer. I think he right now is a better passer with better like court vision and just like understanding where he is on the court, and probably a worse outside shooter than I had expected. I expected, even though he shot like just under 30% in college, I was like, I believe in the form and believe in like the willingness. But it does seem like he's a little bit like scared to shoot, a little bit like not confident back there. He hasn't hit one yet. And he had a couple like drive to the rims without like a real plan of what he was going to do when he got there, especially when he faced bigger guys, because he is kind of small and not like crazy athletic, but the speed plays, and he gets to the spot, like hitting that like little corner off the glass a couple times. And so it's still good to see, still a lot of room to improve, but like mixed bag as you'd expect from a freshman rookie without much of a preseason.
Yeah. I like him a lot. The shot needs some work. I mean, form wise isn't terrible, but he does like, I don't know how to explain it. He pushes it a little bit from his chest. So,
but he's making plays off the dribble in a really fun way for himself and for other people. He had that one little drive baseline kind of leave for Dwight underneath, and that's like there's just not many guys on the team that do that, and it's nice to see him be able to make those kinds of plays.
I love that stuff. Like I think he is a long-term NBA player, and I think ends up being a starter and a good player, and it seems like the rest of the team likes him. I think you have to be super happy about that. You have to be really encouraged by Shake, who every game, believe it or not, like seems to find space a little bit better in half court and shiftiness and putting guys on his back and that kind of stuff. So I think you have to be excited about that. Danny Green is funny, right? Because one thing I mentioned to somebody that I had forgotten about is he is, a lot of players have been off. Most of the Sixers have been off a normal amount of time. Danny Green just finished 2 months ago, and it was his second straight trip to the finals.
Yeah.
And he's 35 years old, and he was slowing down anyway. So I think all things considered, his hands are really good. He moves his feet well on defense.
Slowly.
But he knows where to be, I think, and he's got really quick hands, and he doesn't overreach. Like, I don't think he's going to get, he's not a bad foul guy. He saw a couple of shots go down. It is weird how he runs from side to side. He runs like his body's broken.
Totally. You've just never seen a more like heavy load incoming. He's just always running like he's running to the bathroom and trying not to like make a sudden move. Otherwise it's all going to come out at once. Like you've just never seen anything like it.
And he's not built that way. I don't understand it. He's so slender. And
he's just clumping, and any wrong move could just like absolutely explode. Like everything's going to come. It's bad. Shake, I think Shake's defense, Korkmaz's defense, I've been generally impressed by. I think them improving as defenders is really big for the playoffs because they're two of the Sixers' best shooters, and being able to play those shooters without giving up a ton on the other end is very big. That being said, Korkmaz's groin, a concern. I think Shake also is doing the thing I've kind of been asking him for, which is like feeling around in the mid range, under control, and like getting his shots off because he's long, he's got a 7-foot wingspan, and he is like able to shoot that even though he's kind of slow. He's still able to like get that ball high enough where he can hit shots in that fadeaway little middle environment that that he's going to get those shots because he's not going to beat anybody above the rim, but he can still get to where he wants to get to by just sense of pace.
Yeah. I think that's everybody, right?
Dakota Mathias? Impressed?
Yeah. I mean, I'm shocked that guy is on the Sixers. I saw the pictures when they had, when they released all the pictures, and I'm like, that guy's not on the Sixers. And he has. I don't know. He had a shot tonight. He had 2.
He had a couple. I think he had 8 points.
Yeah.
He looked all right. Like he relocates nicely. He played with Carson Edwards at Purdue. They were like kind of the 1-2 there, relocating off each other. He knows what he's doing. Like, and he's pretty big. He shoots the ball high. If Korkmaz is out for any length of time, I think he'll probably play over Isaiah Joe or Terrence Ferguson right now. I think he's probably just like more equipped to know what he's doing right now.
Man, Isaiah Joe looks fucking skinny on an NBA court, man. Holy
very skinny.
Fuck.
But he got his first bucket attacking a closeout with a little soft runner off the glass. That was nice. Mike Scott, not a good couple games for Mike Scott. He's still a bad defender. They're trying to run like Ben at the 5, Mike Scott like covering bigger dudes, and it just never works. It never works.
Ben doesn't work defending the 5, and Mike Scott doesn't work defend. Like you can't play that. Lineup's not real. That lineup,
not. It isn't. You want it to be. I think if like Matisse was like taking active steps forward, then maybe that's just like a fun, weird lineup against teams where like it works personnel wise. But yeah, I mean, he's not a good enough rebounder. He's not that long. He's not that athletic. He's not that fast. Like just. He holds his ground, but you can shoot over him pretty easy. It's tough. I mean, it was kind of I thought Tony Bradley had a couple nice moments, but he's got a 7'5" wingspan. He can really block shots and get to rebounds and stuff, but he's just not that athletic and he's not that mobile. And so Drummond was really, but if they took him out, then tried to run that That I don't know if that was we don't Tony Bradley not looking good, or that was we're down 1,000 anyway. Let's get a couple looks at this small ball lineup. But I don't know. I mean, the fact is, if Embiid is out for any length of time in a postseason game, they're losing. They're losing the game.
Yeah.
They're going to lose the game, probably by a lot.
That's even with Dwight Howard. You were mentioning how much he's not only their best defensive player, he's their best offensive player too. He's the cornerstone of both things. So yeah. All right. Would you be up for relationship advice? I feel like it's been a while. Okay. Relationship advice brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding, where I got this. I'm actually wearing a full Kinetic outfit today. I got the camo sweatpants and the Happy Harry's long sleeve tee, which you can see on YouTube if you smash that subscribe button. Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order at kineticskateboarding.com with promo code Dave Silver. Just tons of gear. That's what I'm saying. You can get skateboards and snowboards and all that stuff, but I'm in it for the gear. Go there for the gear. All right, relationship advice.
I keep my heart under my pillow with my teeth and other lies. I've been waiting on your halo just to shine the light.
The relationship advice theme comes to us from Eliza Hardy-Jones, the one, the only Eliza Hardy-Jones. This is from Anonymous, specifically asked for us not to read his name. Hi, Spike and Mike. I moved in with my girlfriend of 2 years this summer, and things started out great. As time went on, we started to get on each other's nerves so often. I think he meant every so often. To get on each other's nerves ever so often, which seems normal, but an issue nonetheless. We bicker like you guys arguing about Evan Turner versus Dion Waiters. We recently adopted a dog that's added to our stresses with each other. Do you guys have any advice for making living with your significant other more enjoyable? I still love her. I want things to work out, but especially working from home together, sometimes it can be hard. Do you want to go first?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to explain to other people. I think you either, really like spending a lot of time. It might not even be about the relationship. Like if you're just the kind of person that like generally wants like alone time, then that's something you got to factor in. Like me and Alyssa have both, because of our careers, like spent a lot of time together. We worked on the same show. We've just been around each other a lot for many years. And so this obviously is the most we've ever been around each other for such a long stretch of time. But it's not unusual for us. And it's gone, I mean, I'm annoying, I'm sure. And so it's not, nobody's perfect. But it's been as I think is really as very good as it can be. And so I think if you're a person that you just need that space, then you got to go get it. But if I don't think there's like here's the secret code if you don't.
Yeah. All good points. I agree with them. I did not. When did I move in with my wife? Got married at maybe 35 years old or 36. So I was very used to my own time. And that is actually something that's important to me, is my own time. Everybody's different, right? Like everybody, to your point. But it doesn't mean that you can't live with somebody. Now, this is a special challenge, obviously, with you both living at home and working at home. I would say first thing is make sure that you are somehow getting some time apart that isn't time apart where you two are like where somebody's going to like take offense that you're going into the other room. Like there's this thing when people live together, I think at first, where they feel like they have to spend every moment in the same room watching the same show. Like it's totally okay for her to be watching a TV show and you reading a book in a different room. That would be the first thing that I would tell you to understand. Second of all, like and this would be the other important thing. If something's bothering you, the two things you got to figure out are, is this worth it? And if it's not, then stop letting it bother you. And if it is, then say something. Because if you don't say anything, those little things are going to build up and she's going to do something very small and you're going to fucking freak out. So I would say that this does not mean that you can't live together. This year is a very special challenge. I can't believe you decided to move in when you guys couldn't leave. It's the timing seems questionable. But
We're all
I would say
fucked.
if you love, what's that?
I just said we're all fucked. Alyssa's been doing this thing where before the Sixers game, she'll just like walk in with a glass of wine and hand it to me, just being like, you're going to be better with this. And I think it's worked so far. She's very smart.
Yeah, wine's great. I actually decided I'm 2 days away from Whole30 ending. And one thing I realized is drinking too much hard alcohol. I figured like during the week, maybe a glass of red wine. You know, I'm not a wine guy, but a little wine now and then feels like it'd be a little bit healthier than doing what I was doing, I think. So communicate. Don't let every small thing she does piss you off, and get some alone time if you need it, and make sure it's no offense.
And also, you're probably annoying.
Yeah,
So-
that's what but you're both annoying.
Talk
I'm
it out.
annoying. Yeah. Mike, let's say you were a jeweler.
Oh, boy.
You've been in the same spot on Walnut for 32 years. You've sold 206 engagement rings to Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners. What would your New Year's resolution be?
Go on walks in different neighborhoods.
Really?
I think he's probably walked his neighborhood enough. He probably needs a little bit of variety to that.
That's actually a good resolution. I actually need to do that with runs. I need to run in different neighborhoods. This is the last LL Pavorsky ad for 2020. We want to thank LL for his 17th straight year of sponsoring the Ricky, the first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Like I said, 206 engagement rings to Rights to Ricky Sanchez customers. I got an Instagram DM from, I won't give their names out, but from the fiance, the bride to be of number 200. And she sent a note. She was like, I just wanted you to know that we're real. Wink, wink. Very funny, all the jokes about us not inviting you to officiate our wedding. They're not jokes. They're not jokes. Really disappointed in that. But, you know, you can't win them all. LL tries to win them all. Hey, look, Valentine's Day is coming up. You need a Valentine's Day gift. LL is your guy. You need an engagement ring. LL is your guy. You need an anniversary gift, a birthday present. LL is your guy. LL is your guy. LL is your guy. If you want to do the appointment in person, he can do that by appointment only. You'll be the only person in there. If you want to do it online, do it online. If you want to do it on the phone, do it on the phone. Just make an appointment. 215-627-2252. Lee at llpavorsky.com. What I got the email Christmas card from him with his whole family, including Jake. And
You got that as a card?
What's that?
You got that as a card?
Well, online card.
Okay, yeah, I got it as a text.
Yeah, email card. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this economy, do you really need to be buying?
No, I just wanted to know if we were being
No.
treated differently.
No, I didn't get it as a. I think I got it as an Instagram. I think I got it as a Twitter DM actually. So there we go. Lee at llpavorsky.com, or just tweeted him at llpavorsky. Supports our charities. Providence Animal Center, coded by kids, supports everything we do, supports you. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Swap out your soft shit with rose gold.
All right. So I decided this earlier today because I realized that Tuesday night is going to be our last episode, our last podcast of 2020. So I put together some poll questions, which are at rightstoRickySanchez.com. Or if you don't want to go to the website, just go to within the description of this podcast or the link to this post at rightstoRickySanchez.com. You can vote. So the best of 2020 for the Ricky. You have to vote by 5 p.m. on Tuesday. Again, at rightstoRickySanchez.com. I'll just throw some of these at you and see what you think. Now, for some of these, like this one, we're doing ranked choice voting. So people will actually rank which one they like the most. So the first one is basketball related guest, the best basketball related guest in 2020 on the Ricky. Choices being, just off the top of your head, Embiid Morey, Zach Lowe, Kevin Arnovitz, Jerome Allen, Ryan McDonough, Yaron Weitzman, Kevin O'Connor, Larry Hughes. You have a pick?
Joel, probably.
Over Morey?
Yeah, I mean, especially at the time. I think that I wouldn't rule out my own hubris for thinking that Morey's appearance on the podcast is what got him here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just taken on its own, the Embiid podcast was very special. We were trying to get that for a long time, and I'm seeing him on the video and
Watch him chuckle.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he's somehow some kid from Cameroon who decided to play basketball is now a very important part of my life and my level of happiness. And so I'm very the fact that we got him on the podcast and had a good time with him, I think was part of the year.
There is that great moment where he signs on and we're both like, like, because he actually was there and it actually happened. Yeah. Guest of the year, non-basketball related, is a very long list. I think 14 names. Chuck Klosterman, Andrew Yang, Butch Walker, Amos and Mutlu twice, Matt Quinn from Mountjoy, Eliza Hardy-Jones, G. Love, Ike Reese, world champion bowler Bill O'Neill, Alyssa and Taylor from Table Flipping Podcast, our dads, Howard Eskin and Glenn Levin, Patrick Kang, your writing partner, Doug Mand about sitting versus standing, Hassan Bennett, and Helen Gim. It's
a lot of variety there.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty cool looking at the list. There are things I loved about every single one of these, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I can pick one there, honestly. I mean, to think we had a presidential candidate, a guy who spent 15 years in jail, wrongly convicted of murder, and a world champion bowler all the same year. The next one was the long-term Mike was right player of the year. And I narrowed it down to two, Shake Milton or Christian Wood. I did put an other there, but I feel like it comes down to those two.
Yeah. I could go either way. Very happy about it.
The did that really happen moment of the year. Mike and Howard Eskin attend the same online bachelor party. The NBA plays in a bubble at Disney World. The Spike versus JJ Redick Twitter feud, and Daryl Morey appears on the pod as Rockets GM from the bubble. To me, this is Mike and Howard Eskin attend the same online bachelor party.
I don't think that the bubble can be in there because that's everybody. That's not us.
Okay.
Specific.
All right. I don't think it'll win anyway.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. The way to wipe of the year, standing versus sitting, of course.
Pretty clear.
Now, this one I just left an open comment by. So I went on Twitter and I asked for, categories, and people came up with like these. And I don't know what these are. So people seem to know them. So I left it as an open box. The podcast argument of the year between us. Now, there were several that never made the podcast, but I didn't even remember the ones that made the podcast, but people remember them. Do you remember many?
I pretty quickly forget everything that happens once I unplug my mic.
Yep. Okay. Somebody said there was a Tillman Fertitta one. I don't know. The take that comes back to haunt Spike of the year. Jimmy Butler reaches the finals, LeBron wins the finals, or Luka Doncic is good. Do you have a particular favorite there?
I mean, it's gotta be Jimmy.
Jimmy Butler, right. There's the food list of the year. Outrageous Furkan Korkmaz moment of the year.
You did go pretty hard on Luka being not good, and he is good for sure. Yeah, I will say while I say that, Brandon Ingram
overrated.
is better than I want him to be.
I'll
admit that he's certainly improving, and so watching him over the last couple of years improve makes me upset and makes me want our guys to do a similar level of improvement, please.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about Luka Doncic is when he does ultimately disappoint this year, I want everyone to criticize him with the same amount of energy they criticize Devin Booker with. I don't want any
Devin Booker.
Everybody.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What
absolutely.
do they criticize him for?
No defense, does not a winning player, doesn't make his teammates better, yada 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 yada.
I think he's been pretty to very good for a while, and his team has never really been that close to making the playoffs. And so I think that's there now is expectations with Chris Paul there, and 3 years into Ayton's career and stuff. But I don't think Devin Booker is this like GOAT that everybody rips on all the time.
Oh, I think he was treated very unfairly. I would take Devin Booker over Luka, wouldn't you?
No. What?
I would.
That's insane.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're back to this. This will be next year's take that comes back to bite you then.
What, that he's not as good as Devin Booker? I mean, that's no insult. Devin Booker will be like one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league in a couple of years.
I don't think so.
I think that it's sometimes an unfair thing when like players who pass are seen as like, I guess, smarter than players who can figure out how to score. And I think they both take a lot of intelligence, basketball intelligence. And I think sometimes we treat them differently, but they both lead to the same thing, points, right? So I would rather have Booker. Prospect, I was accidentally right about. There's the outrageous Furkan Korkmaz moment of the year. There's Portland game winner versus back-to-back 30-point games. Prospect, I was accidentally right about. Michael Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., or Anthony Simons. Off-season distraction of the year.
I think Gary Trent is the answer.
Gary Trent. Off-season distraction of the year for us was Field of 64 Jigsaws, Foodless, Nephew Kyle's rap songs, Sitting versus Standing, and Carl Landry Record Club. And then Rant of the year and Good Take and Bad Take of the year. So you can fill that all out at writestorickysanchez.com. I know you do not remember a good take or bad take or rant. Obviously, the Tobias Harris rant, which you've apologized for numerous times now, is fresh in everybody's mind and will go down as one of the best, I think, historically on the pod. So please,
I just want to tell Tobias that I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
You did mean it, though.
I don't know.
You meant it.
Who means anything these days?
Well, look, what I will say, and I said it right after you finished, he didn't sign himself to the contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and he's not, there have been plenty of players in the NBA who have signed giant contracts and then turned into like stop trying afterwards.
For sure.
I don't think that's what happened to him. I just think they made a bad decision. And that's, unfortunately, he's being, look, he will have to pay the brunt of that but he's being paid very well to take the brunt of it. So I don't know. A couple of mailbag questions, 2 mailbag questions, and then we're out of here. Writes RickySanchez@gmail.com. This comes from Brian Pollock. Does Tobias and a protected lottery first for Blake Griffin make any sense? Tobias will probably end up getting like 16 and 8, but doesn't really seem to fit. Blake is a big health risk, but one less year. And one thing he does is catch and shoot threes with no hesitation, which is important. Tobias is basically a full-time power forward now, so not really losing any versatility. Blake has a bigger upside with bigger risk, but this is also assuming no lingering bad blood with Ben over Kendall Jenner, and that Blake doesn't hate Doc for the Clippers trading him to Detroit. So what do you think? Would you do that trade?
I mean, interesting player, because like Blake has kind of been just forgotten about over there. Mm-hmm. I did draft him to my John Gonzalez fantasy team, which is tanking this year, so I plan on recouping some good value for Blake Griffin. So I would like him to keep getting better.
I think aside from the injuries, he's probably a really good fantasy player because he shoots a good percentage and he fills up all the.
He doesn't shoot a good percentage. He doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't?
Yeah, especially the past couple of years, it's been bad. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting fit because I don't think Ben, Blake, Joel like fits better than Ben, Tobias, Joel. I don't think it's not like Blake is a natural catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's not Kevin Love. He's got more. It's certainly a better passer than Tobias. Certainly, probably has at this point in his career maybe a little bit more self-creation ability than Tobias. And I would say maybe has the more potential than Tobias to be a good like small ball 5. Like that's like the hope for if you would trade for Blake, that'd be what you get for him. Neither of them are the sort of salvation that this team needs, I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would just wait for one that you're actually. I would pay more to get off it after this year, and break that up into a couple of contracts rather than just one. Jesus. So in 2 games this year, he shot 21 threes.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly getting him up right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Shot 16 against the Cavs. Holy moly. I wouldn't do it. And second one. Hey, Spike and Mike, this is a very funny question given the circumstances. I'm just curious who you think the Frosty Freeze-Out guy will be this year. I thought it was going to be Justin Anderson, but he was waived. Dwight has the energy, but it feels wrong. If it was a vet, could Tyrese Maxey sneakily be it? Now, having a Frosty Freeze-Out guy with nobody in the stands is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think? Who is most natural fit?
It does feel like Dwight, and I will say that even though like Dwight, and especially in this Cavs game, it's just like it's very clear that he can do what he can do against backup centers, and against a starting center. It's just a different energy and capability at this point in his career.
Especially one that big.
Yeah,
too.
and you just can't. Yeah. That's why Dwight got the minimum. If he was able to like dominate Andre Drummond, then he would have gotten more than the minimum. I do think it's Dwight. I hear you about it needing to be a young guy as sort of like a hazing routine. I would love for it to be B-Ball Paul. I feel bad that B-Ball Paul has not gotten in a regular season game yet. So I don't know. Maybe he's like in his head or he's like a little upset. So maybe it should be Maxey. Maxey is like very engaged on the bench. Dwight also is like helping everyone else be engaged on the bench. So that's like that's a very added to the good vibes club.
Dwight's corniness does lead you to believe that he would take this mantle very quickly if there were fans there.
If there were fans there, he would take it so seriously.
Yeah.
This would be his thing. He would be doing promos on the NBC Sports Philly broadcast. He'd probably get a deal with Wendy's to do commercials. Like he'd be really like, I will devote my life to being the Frosty Freeze-Out guy. And he'd be so excited to do it. He'd be telling everyone about it all the time.
By the way, speaking of the TV broadcast, I'd like to give a shout out to Ala Abdelnaby for becoming, even though he's not from here, maybe the biggest Homer announcer I've ever heard on TV. He's really going for the crown of the Sixers have yet to commit a foul that was called properly club. I love it. I think you need that comfort when you're watching a game, especially when things aren't going your way. Having an announcer that will agree with you, and Allah always sees the game our way.
I would say that I would like a little bit more of like this team. I
say Homer with love, by the way.
Right, of course. I think I would like more. This team is playing poorly. Stuff from them. And I was watching the Clippers broadcast today when they lost and they were down 50 in the first half. Alyssa made me put it on because she wanted to drink all that up as a lifetime Clippers hater. And it was just like, you should be making fun. You should be like, some days you don't have it. And like, he's just like, maybe in that game you can laugh about it, but sometimes you want to be like, he's doing a bad job. Like, I want them to say when guys are doing a bad job, but I guess that's more of like you couldn't do that during the process years because it was like, no one's going to watch. Like if you're already shitting on the players, so you couldn't do it then. And now it's like, well, they're a little too good now because you want it to feel like in that middle ground sometimes of the like, Orlando Magic, Kings, Wolves, Pelicans in that like 8 seed and under morass. I like a general like fuck this shit from the home broadcast crew. I think. Let
me tell you, Merrill has hit that note a bunch of times this year.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Merrill seems. I don't think he revels in it. I think he likes it better when they're good, but it does give him a chance to show up a bit of a different style when they're bad. By the way, before we get out of here, just the final cruelest joke of this Eagles season: they flexed Eagles Washington to 8-20.
Perfect.
What the fuck?
I will say, I made the ill-advised decision of starting Jalen Hurts in the How I Met Your Mother Fantasy Football League Championship. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably why the Eagles lost, but I will, unless Stephon Diggs has the best week anyone's ever seen, I will be winning. Jalen Hurts is the championship quarterback of my fantasy winning
Wow.
team. So
That's-
there's at least that.
Yeah, that's good vibes. Good vibes moving
That
forward.
is good vibes, yeah.
All right, we will talk to you on Tuesday night for the last Ricky of 2020. I can't believe we made it through. Well, knock on wood, God willing. That's it. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah,
Then I won't fuck
you
with
know Lickface.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
But if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Time for plan B.